Speaking to David Lewis of Corruption Watch, and David, Corruption Watch just brought out a report regarding the Ters money, and no surprise, it has been inappropriately spent, to say the least.
Yeah, well, I mean, we received about 126 reports of people complaining for one reason or another about the management of the Ters program, and these were intended beneficiaries of the program. And it complemented obviously a much larger and more extensive report that the Auditor General had done several months previously, which recorded similar patterns to the ones that we found, and that was that there had been high levels of corruption and maladministration, and that's what our work showed. I mean, mostly perpetrated by employers, middlemen, and Labour Department or UIF officials who had access in one way or another to being able to corrupt the program, or who were responsible for maladministration.
In South Africa, we have become used to government officials being appointed in corruption, but you just mentioned the fact that also employers on a big scale are involved in this. This is quite a concern.
Yeah, well, I mean, these, it's not, always clear. I mean, we got some sort of picture of the sectors involved, and, they're mostly in the sort of low-paid sectors. They were in some sectors in which we know that the employers were struggling. So food and beverages, I think, probably refers mostly to the restaurant business, security guards. These are kinds of sectors in which this sort of thing occurs quite often. And as hard done by as the restaurant owners may have been at the closure or limitation of their business, so too were the employees, and arguably, in fact, certainly more hard done by. Very often I think the employers might have got their benefit and taken the workers' benefit at the same time. So, that's where this happened. But, employers or private sector businesses have not been untainted by corruption in this country, to put it mildly, including some of the biggest companies in the world, and certainly some of the biggest companies in South Africa. So it's no surprise to me that employers and the private sector should be involved in this.
Is there a way that employees that are that was affected by this can recover some of that money?
Well, a forum or institution called the Fusion Center has been set up. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but I mean, we've referred our reports to the SIU, with whom we have a solid working relationship. And I know that this thing is being investigated on quite a significant scale. I mean, it's a pattern. And so the SIU are the institution that investigates entire programs as opposed to only individual cases. So I think they're quite determined to do something about this. I think the South African public, and this happened this was particularly manifest when large-scale corruption was discovered in the procurement and distribution of personal protective equipment. The South African public was quite outraged to an unusual degree And I'm pleased that they still have the capacity for outrage, but they were outraged at the fact that frontline health workers were being denied personal protective equipment. They would be similarly outraged that workers were denied their small and meager beneficiaries. And they will be even more outraged if the procurement and distribution of vaccines is corrupted. And so, I don't know, I, as I say, appreciate their outrage. I don't share their surprise that the most vulnerable people should be affected. I mean, if you recall the VBS scandal or the Estina dairy scandal, and daily misleadingly named petty corruption, it's the poorest and most vulnerable people who are affected. So the fact that people who choose to be corrupt don't seem to care if nurses die as a result of their corruption, or if really poor people go without a very meager portion of their income. But I'm hoping that the outrage and, this combined with the COVID-19 crisis doesn't inspire a greater zeal in investigating and bringing to book some of the people who've been involved in it.